Hey everyone, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. Late last week, Ubiquiti announced the successor to the UDR7, which was a great at-home device or for a small business. We deployed quite a lot of those and it had great integrated Wi-Fi and you could run all the application on it. Well, now the successor is the Dream Router 5G Max. As you can probably tell within the name, this router does support 5G connections as well as eSIM, and we're going to take a look at that. But first, let's take a closer look at the hardware and the Dream Router 5G Max. This is the UDR 5G Max. On the front, you can see it says UniFi and then 5G, and we have this really big LCD screen, which we will end up going through the menus for it. We also have this on the bottom, which is going to be able to change colors. So this is just an LED light at the bottom. On the back, there's a bunch of little holes, and this would be used for cooling. There is a fan within this unit. Then we have 2 nano SIM slots, and then we have 4 Ethernet ports. These Ethernet ports are 2.5 gigabit per second, and one of them has PoE. At the very bottom, we have a 10 gigabit SFP Plus connection. On the bottom of the unit, it's this rubber so that it can't really move around too much, and we also have a reset button. Down below, if we switch it to the other side, you might be able to see that. We could see that we have our power input, and then we have an SD card for storage. This would be used for NVR, or if you're storing something like UniFi Talk voicemails. It does come with the 64 gigabit SD card put in here, but if you want to expand, you can. Now I'm going to get this unit powered up and then we'll go through what the LCD screen can do. The unit is now all powered up and you could see that it's showing a couple things on top. We could see an access point, which is showing us the UniFi network application. It also says cellular, but I don't have a SIM card or eSIM turned on. It says internet and we could do a speed test, so let's go ahead and try that. At the bottom, it says run speed test. And this is giving us a live speed test right from my internet connection. We're going to see about 2 gig by 2 gig. And there we have it. We are getting 2,129 down by 2,160 up. And that is my ISP connection. We're going to hit the back button to see some other settings within this. You'd see the internet and it is keeping our latest speed. And it will show you what provider that we're using, which is Bell Canada. We're actually seeing live network traffic. There is nothing plugged into this right now. And then we see our Wi-Fi. We see our clients, and then we see the ports that are in use. We press on the settings wheel. Under the about, it shows us our CPU, and it shows us our memory, as well as the WAN, the LAN, and our MAC address, as well as the uptime. There is the settings tab, which when we click that, it's going to show us the screen brightness, the LED brightness, and then we have the LED color. So right now, it is currently at blue. So I'm going to zoom out a bit so you guys can see this. You can see the bottom LED is blue, but we could slide it over and change it to whatever color we want. Now it's red, or if we want it to be green, we could slide over to green. There's also a fan setting, which it's set to auto, and it's at 10%. If I didn't have a noise gate on this mic, you guys would be able to hear it. I could push it all the way up to 100%, and then the fans are going to start to go off. We also have device control, so we could shut down and we could restart. And that's going to be pretty much it for the screen. I do like how you could change the color to match your interior. Let's now get the Dream Router 5G Max set up, and I'm going to be using the UniFi network application on my phone as it's very easy to set up this way. You'd see that it's found the device and we're going to hit the setup button. Now we're connecting over to the UDR 5G Max, and then we should be prompted to go through a wizard. The first thing it's going to ask us to do is to name it. So I'm just going to call this Mac Telecom 5G. We need to put in a Wi-Fi SSID as this has integrated Wi-Fi 7. So the default will be UniFi, and I'm just going to put a password of test1234. Next, we need to hit the connect button. If you're loading from a backup, maybe you had a UDR7 before, you could also load it from that backup. Now it's saying that it's setting up the UniFi OS, and it's going to take about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Once that's done, we're going to head over to the site manager and look at it from my computer. We're now on the dashboard of the UniFi Dream Router 5G Max, and we could see a couple things here. We could see the Mac Telecom 5G. We could see what devices are connected, which I don't have any currently, and we could see the client count, which is just my phone right now. We could see the gateway and the system uptime. We'd also see our different WAN connections. So we have WAN 1, WAN 2, and WAN 3. WAN 3 is active, and that is my SIM card that I've installed in there. We're probably not going to be doing anything with eSIM. I tried to find some carriers in Canada that do eSIM data only, but I couldn't. Maybe somebody in the comments could let me know of a provider. We can see the signal strength that I'm getting from TELUS, which is minus 82 dBm, and we could also see that it's in SIM slot 1, and we could see the throughput that it's doing. We'd also do a speed test directly from the dashboard. So let's go over to WAN 1. This is probably going to give us about 2 gig by 2 gig. Let's start that speed test. We are right around that 2 gig mark for download and upload speed. Let's go ahead and click on WAN 3 and do a speed test. This will be over 5G. And we're getting 559 down and 47 up, which is more than enough for a failover connection. I'm really glad that they built this into the router. Let's go ahead and we'll look at the UniFi devices, and then we're going to take a look directly at the UDR 5G Max. We'd see right on top about the ports that we already looked at, but you could see that my internet connection is plugged in via the Ethernet, and it's going at 2.5 gigabit per second. We also have our port manager, and we have a packet capture. We can see that SIM 1 is our primary, and there is that secondary SIM slot if you want to have a failover SIM. You could use the UDR 5G Max without a traditional plugged-in Ethernet WAN connection and just use SIMs to power this up. We also have our eSIM, which we could click to activate, but we're not going to be doing that. Below that, we have our PoE in use, which the PoE port, there is only one on port 1, and it could go up to 15 watts. We're going to end up plugging in an Ultra Access reader into that and testing it out. Now, lower down, we're going to be seeing some statistics for our built-in Wi-Fi, and this is Wi-Fi 7, and on each band, it's going to be 2x2. So we have our 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and we have our 6 gigahertz, and we could see the one client, which is my iPhone, that's currently connected to it. Under Insights, it's going to show us our channel usage, and this is going to give me quite a bit of interference because I'm running a lot of different APs within this house, so that is probably what you're trying to look to reduce. The yellow, you don't want a lot of interference. Then if we go over to the settings, we have the name, and then we also have our different radios. So this is where we're going to choose or change the Wi-Fi settings. So we have our 2.4, we have our 5, and then we have our 6. I'm just going to leave everything on default. Within the settings of the Dream Router 5G Max, it's pretty much the exact same as you'd find on any other console. We have our overview, which is going to show us our Wi-Fi, our networks, the internet, VPN servers, VPN clients, port forwarding, and so on and so forth. But let's go ahead and we'll create another network. So I'm going to click on networks, and then we're going to go new virtual network, and I'm going to call this YouTube. One thing that I wish Ubiquiti added within this, which they do with the LTE devices, is the ability to say if my primary internet goes down, what is going to route over the SIM or the 5G network. Currently, if we click on this new YouTube VLAN that we just created, there's no way to specify that this would route or wouldn't route over it. We may not want all of our traffic going over that 5G connection when we are in a failover situation. So I hope that's something that they add in a future firmware update. With our UDR 5G Max, this does support all of our VPN. So we have Teleport, we have our VPN servers, so OpenVPN and WireGuard, we have VPN clients, and then we have site-to-site. This does also do site magic, and you could have up to 20 tunnels. For our OpenVPN and our WireGuard, we could have 8 tunnels each. Looking over at the CyberSecure, we could activate CyberSecure by Proofpoint if we'd like, and Cloudflare, and we could do our region blocking, encrypted DNS, and our honeypots. We could also do block page, and then we could do our intrusion prevention. If we turn this on and do notify and block, you could see that we only have 3, 6, 9, 12. We have 13 different toggles. On a Pro Max, you would have 32. For the IDS and IPS speed, if you have this turned on, it would do 2.3 gigabit per second. So that's something to take into consideration when you're purchasing this device if you need more throughput than that. What could the UDR 5G Max run? Well, it could run every single application. We have to have network turned on. This can't be a standalone device. We have Protect, Access, Talk, Connect, and then we have Interspace. We could manage up to 30 unified devices. For cameras, we could have 5 HD, we could have 2 2K, or we could have 1 4K camera. The only thing that I'm going to install on this is Access so that we could test it out. So I'll click on Access to install. With UniFi Access now installed, we could get it set up. So we'll click Setup, and this is going to bring us to the introduction page to Welcome to UniFi Access. We need to agree to the terms and service and then press Start. Now it automatically detected that we have a UA Ultra in here, and I'm going to call this Front Door. We're going to press Next on that. It's saying register your NFC card. I do have a UniFi fob, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to click on the Front Door or the UA Ultra, and it's right behind me. I'm going to hold it there for 5 seconds, and it should register this. It says Setup Complete. Now you can unlock doors with your NFC card. I'll show you it right here, it unlocking. UniFi Access is a great access control system, and I do have some on-site videos of us installing UniFi Access, so make sure you're subscribed to see more. But this is really nice that it includes every single application if you want to use it or not. We're now going to begin testing, and the first test that we're going to do is to test our failover connection. So I'm going to unplug the WAN, the Ethernet WAN, and we're going to see how the 5G works. So I have a command line brought up. I'm going to ping 1.1.1.1-T and press enter. I'm now going to go to the UDR 5G Max, and I'm going to unplug that Ethernet cable. The Ethernet cable is now unplugged, and we're going to see some request times out, but it only had one packet lost before it switched over to that 5G cellular connection, which is really good in my opinion. I'm going to reconnect that Ethernet cable, and we may see one more request timeout. The Ethernet cable is now connected. We had no request timeouts, and you could see where it activated. So we had 73 milliseconds, and now it's down to 5 milliseconds. So that was a really quick failover. Next up for testing was different speed tests, and I do have the UDR 5G Max sitting within this room, and the first test was in this room using my iPhone. My ISP connection will be about 2 gig by 2 gig. So sitting in this room, I was getting 647 down and 704 up. One floor below me, I was getting 653 down and then 389 up. And then 2 floors below me, which is in my basement, I was getting 159 down by 118 up, which is still pretty decent, but you most likely would want to add an access point down into the basement. This house is about 2,000 square feet, and all Wi-Fi testing is going to be different depending on building materials within your home. One nice thing about the Ubiquiti website is the ability to compare different devices, and that's what we're going to do. So we have the Dream Router 5G Max, and then we have the Dream Router 7. So first thing, we could see the price. For the 5G Max, it's $499 USD, and for the Dream Router 7, it's $279. We could click on Unique Specs Only, and it's going to show you the dimensions are a bit different. Also with our ports, they're going to be different as well. So we have 1 PoE port, same with on the UDR7, but the UDR7 will allow us to do 10 megabits per second. The form factor for the 5G Max is a desktop, where the Dream Router 7 is a compact desktop. If we scroll down, we have the antenna gain. So our 6 gigahertz on the 5G Max is 8 dBi, and on the Dream Router 7, it's 6 dBi. It's a little bit higher on the 5 gigahertz for the Dream Router 7 at 7 dBi, and then on the 2 gigahertz, you'd see it's stronger on the Dream Router 7. Now for the NVR storage, I'm not too sure why it's showing these are unique specs, because they both come pre-installed with 64 gigabit of micro SD for the NVR. Our max power consumption is different, so on the Dream Router 5G Max, it's 34.5 watts, and that's excluding the PoE outage, and on the Dream Router 7, it's 26 watts, excluding the PoE output. We also have different power methods in the power supplies, as well as heat dissipation. The biggest difference really is that bigger LCD screen and the integrated 5G, so we could use cell signal within the Dream Router 5G Max. And that's going to be my video on the new UniFi Dream Router 5G Max, and I think this is a pretty cool device. Where would I use it? Well, I would probably use it in a home or maybe a small office. This could work well maybe at a construction site that is currently under development, so you could plug in a couple cameras, and you could also have Wi-Fi. The built-in 5G is great because you could have 2 different SIMs, and you don't rely on a physical Ethernet connection or a fiber connection to get this up and running. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this new UniFi Dream Router 5G Max. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.